This is another Club of Rome Salon where we are looking at different perspectives of sustainability. The emphasis of this event is on collaboration and solutions, and it focuses on the integration really of nature and people. The fact that we are all part of one system and not really separated.
Alle sind wir nur ein Stück Natur. Wie die Wasserglas, so blau, so pur. Ich weiß, dass du das weißt.
Eternal exponential growth just won't turn out good in the long run. We have to ask ourselves, what have we learned? Have we developed alternative concepts to the growth paradigm? Have we finally understood that our world's resources are limited and that there are planetary boundaries that are non-negotiable, where a company's success is no longer purely defined in terms of profits?
We all underestimate the importance of culture and arts in the way in which we're going to be able to get through the complexity of this 21st century. We do need to remember that every single actor in society has a role to play, and in particular, when we start to talk about the elephants in the room, because there are many. It is very clear that the obsession with technology to get us out of the mess that we've created is the reason why we continue to be in the mess that we created.
I would say there's a great danger in technocrizing our survival.
We need to look at not only the supply side, but we need to look at the demand side, and we need, most importantly, to address poverty and inequality, which is growing across the globe. We have to also address the inherent wastefulness of our addiction. We have to start thinking about how we can optimize our society and our ways to shift from continuous materialism and a capitalistic system that is very much based on an extractive economy. It is the wealthiest that have the highest amount of consumption and therefore CO2 emissions, but also in comparison between the North and the South, it is clearly the North that continues to consume the most. The poorest 50% are responsible for only about 10% of total lifestyle emissions.
So when we speak about how to come together to solve those very problems pointed out before, let's acknowledge those who have caused it. Let's acknowledge that we are not, even in 2024, sitting all on the same table, that we're not all on the same page.
How do we shift from an extractive GDP economy into an economy that services people, planet, and prosperity at the same time?
What that means for us is entrepreneurship in the 21st century, which is in balance between economy, ecology, and social responsibility. So we would like to talk about opportunity because there will be a huge gap between the system change, which is necessary, and now. How do you overcome the, in my point of view, dysfunctional market? Because costs are socialized and externalized. We will not change the economic system as such, so what we need is opportunity. Entrepreneurship, some skills that we used to have and probably we lost over time, and we need to see the opportunity in this transformation. I'm perfectly also clear that just technology will not save us.
We, to some extent, take the economic laws as laws of nature, and that's a narrative we need to change.
I'm pretty sure that we will not change this world with just changing the behavior of people. It's the hardest thing that we can do. So what we try to focus on is the story with Enkelfähig to think entrepreneurial and to see the opportunity in that transformation and to make sustainability profitable. Because the one thing that this economic system can do is scale, big time. We need to use that economic system to scale sustainability and create an opportunity for family-owned businesses, but also for big businesses to scale sustainability. And the ultimate goal would be to internalize the externalized costs. Then the market could function again.
We need to give women more agency. We need to have more diversity in our governments, but also, in particular, in the global South, where women should have more access to education, because we know that the flip side of that is a stronger economy and also an insurance that population numbers will go down. The pain point is, as inequality grows, it reduces trust. Reduction of trust means that it has an impact on social tension, it has an impact on democracies, it has an impact on moving towards the radical right. Shareholder value has taken over our entire financial and economic system, that our economy is over-financialized, which basically means that we don't control our economy. Money does. Profit does.
4 years ago, we shifted our approach because we have proven over decades that with the old simply total shareholder return approach, we were not successful.
There are no stocks, no bonds, no financial assets, no business prospects, no jobs on an unstable or dead planet.
There is the lack of willingness to transform, and I see that in all companies. Obviously, I see that in society. It's all fear about need to change, it's fear about costs, it's fear about losing power, losing wealth, losing status, and that's very difficult to overcome. I just would like to see higher prices for non-sustainable behavior, because that would lead the companies into investing into more sustainable behavior. Whenever you try to change a company and transform a company, it doesn't matter if it's a sustainability transformation or digital transformation or whatsoever, it's probably the hardest thing to do. And that's something that we need to acknowledge, because if we don't take people along on the journey, we will lose them to the hard right. And we are currently seeing that all over the place. We need to show the opportunity, because otherwise we will lose these people and we will lose the companies and we will lose the entrepreneurs and nothing will change.
Most of all, we need the privilege to reflect and to act on their own privileges. Given that this night is about collaboration, we cannot collaborate without causing conflict. But we need to acknowledge that there is a gap between the words and the action, and that gap is out there. It's most visible and obviously the dirtiest companies around the world, who all by now present us some climate targets, but who keep profiting and keep growing and keep expanding to the expense of all of us and our lives and livelihoods. This is not a great investment strategy. This is not a green project. This is not a great ecological transition we can do. No, this is a fight for survival, and that's a great difference. James Bond is a great story because there's someone coming with a fossil machine that will save us, quick and dirty, without us having to change anything. We hear someone here thinking about nature and maybe for the first time in a while acknowledge, oh, it's actually about not just some numbers, it's about us, it's about the survival. We need to be able to produce new dreams, new stories, new aesthetics, new words, new languages, new musics, new sounds, to fill that void that is out there. Because otherwise people will cling to old and outdated stories and visions of how an economy has to run and how a family has to run and how a country has to run forever, if we do not find those better stories to tell.
The beautiful music by Berlin Metropol Trio and featuring Batila, they also showed that emotions are very important, dreams are very important in order to form new stories. Some people actually are playing out environmental issues and social issues against each other. What can be done in order to avoid polarization and the society actually falling apart so that we can take more people along?
One of the jobs of movements is to polarize, because in order to come together, we must be able to acknowledge differences. There's obviously the big task to bring people together, building unlikely alliances and so on. We can give people hope, which is an important thing to do. We can shift discourses. We can even put solutions on the map that were ignored for decades. Movements cannot repair a democracy that has established a culture of distrust between a government and their people.
Aren't role models important that also stand for a new future as it could be in terms of positive storytelling?
So when we look for those role models, I think it's also maybe a moment to challenge why we're looking for that one person, or maybe it's something we were trained to do whilst having a life that was built and fought for and defended by a democracy and human rights, all of that, by people who came together.
Why didn't you talk about some of the companies that are doing really well?
You know why? A lot of companies approached me before and said, Luisa, don't you want to mention what we... I'm fighting on so many ends. I didn't want to get in that one fight of which companies to mention and which not to mention.
Joerg, you pointed towards role models. What about highlighting the great policies that we do have? What about highlighting the great leaders that we do have? We have to bring forward our own good policymakers and entrepreneurs. And I have seen time and time again, it is the power mongers and the bad guys that are spending God knows how much money to make sure that they continue to win. Whereas all of the incredible small and medium-sized enterprises, and all those, many of whom are family-owned offices because they do have a vision, but as well as our utilities across Europe, most of whom have already started to transition, some of the car manufacturers that have transitioned, but we do not highlight that. In this period of the poly crisis, people are lost in a variety of different ways. And our role is somehow to build a bridge towards what is it that's important for them. It's embracing different countries that we can work with to build a global Green Deal that is both a green and social deal, and that understands that we may not hit our GDP figures, because actually we're starting to put in place indicators that go beyond GDP.
Don't wait for anyone here or anyone out there to do the job. What you're doing, wherever you are on YouTube, that matters. And that matters more than you might think. Everyone is a role model, and the people that influence us the most are the people closest to us.
Each and every single one of us can do something and create that critical mass. It's not good enough to wait for some others to do that.
So let me just point out a few more thoughts and keywords that I picked up. So there's clearly hope, maybe a table of hope, or hope in general. I think that's certainly very important. Dreams, narratives, feminine values also to be embodied and incorporated by man, so that it's a shared approach, because we don't need more division. I think we need more collaboration between all kinds of factions. There is positive stories, movements cannot repair trust. I think it's up to all of us to repair trust and avoid polarization. We certainly need a lot of resilience moving forward, and we need each other. I think we really need to care and look out for each other in order to make a difference. Often the world lacks inspiration, and this is really something we want to convey tonight.
Alle sind wir nur ein Stück Natur, wie die Wasserglas, so blau, so pur. Ich weiß, dass du das weißt. Allzu sehr vergessen nur der Blick auf dies ganze Weltgeschick. Sag mir, was bringt